Okay, wait, you are now live and good to go.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Your TA will be here soon. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
See you later. Hey, Todd.
Hey Wade, I will be here today. How are you doing?
Good, good. So, yeah, just watch the chat, and when I, ask or any questions, talking to the learners. But if there's something in the chat, just go ahead and say, Wade, there's two questions in the chat, or something like that to let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Good afternoon for most everybody. It may still be morning if anybody on the West Coast, but let's see. Let's start checking people in. Hi, Ann. How are you?
I've got my Easter Bunny ears on.
All right, you do indeed. In the festive mood. That's great. Hey, Jerry.
Hello.
Welcome. Let's see. Maria, you there?
How you doing?
Yep, there you are.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you as well. Elaine, welcome.
Hi, Wade.
Good. Josie. Hey, Josie.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I am doing wonderful. Thanks. It's another sunny day here in North Carolina.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, I'll take it. It was cold, but it's sunny, so we're not going to complain.
We are having like 80 degrees
Oh, really?
in Sedona. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was actually 31 when I woke up this morning, but it's up to 50 now, so feels better.
Not bad.
Oh, hi, Jane.
Hi.
Welcome. And there's Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Wade.
Hey, welcome. And
thank you.
There's Janet. Welcome, Janet. And let's see. Angela, there you are. Okay. Hey, Angela.
Hi.
Okay, I've got Maria. Joanne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Welcome. Glad you're here. Michael, can you hear me? There you are.
Hello.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
Okay.
Let's see, who am I missing now? Pat. Can you hear me, Pat?
Hi, this is Elaine.
Oh, hi, Elaine. How are you?
Hi, doing well, thank you.
Great. Just 1 second. Let me taking care of a couple of things here. All right, there we go. Let's see, who else am I missing? Sebastian? Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm here to do a check-in. So if you need any assistance, I'm here for you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Of course.
So if anybody's having trouble getting their video to work or your audio, support is here to help you. So just let us know that you're having problems. You can reach Sebastian in the chat. If you're having microphone problems, if you're having camera problems, you can just go ahead and ask for help while we're getting everybody checked in here. I'm going to keep calling people names. And one reason I'm calling your name is so to make sure that I can hear you. So when I do call your name, please just unmute and say hi so I know your mic is working. Sylvia, are you there? And if you're having any trouble unmuting, just go ahead and put it in the chat. How about Angela?
Yes, this is Sylvia.
Hey, Sylvia,
Sorry,
great.
Because I'm trying my Android, and I didn't know where all the things were.
Yeah, they're different on the Android than on the laptop or the computer.
Right, I was doing it on the computer, but I had to go somewhere. So, okay, now I know. The screen is much smaller. It doesn't show all those things. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. I'm glad you found the unmute so I can hear you. Good. Okay, are you there?
I'm here, but I don't know what topic. I just signed in.
This is smart homes.
Oh, I know, but I mean, I don't know what you're discussing.
Oh, we're still just getting everybody checked in, making sure they can unmute and participate. We haven't started the class yet. You haven't missed anything.
Okay. All right. I'm fine.
Okay. I think I have heard from everybody that's here. Is there anyone that I haven't called your name or?
You haven't called me.
Oh, who's that?
Janet.
Janet. Hey, okay, Janet, I have you clicked in. I have you checked in. I must have seen you come through, but hi, Janet, welcome. Thanks. All right. All right, so I usually take the first 4 to 5 minutes to give people a chance to log in if they're coming in from another class and get your technology working. But it looks like we are at that point, and I think I've heard everyone's voice, which is great because I do want to hear your comments and questions as we get started. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of a few housekeeping issues, and then we will get started. Let me close a couple of things down over here, and I'll share my screen. Okay. All right, and it's a little different than it is normally, but that's okay. I'm gonna cook. So is anyone having trouble seeing my screen, my slides, or my phone over here? Pictures in the way or anything else? Okay. Sometimes there's pictures covering part of the screen, but if you're seeing everything, that's a great start. We're
Great.
all right. Okay, so I will be muting periodically during the class since there are a lot of people here, and so as I start to pick up any background noise, I will go ahead and just mute everyone. So that's why I was saying to make sure if you're asking a question, making a comment, that you do go ahead and unmute yourself before you ask your question or make your comment, so I can hear you and everyone else can hear your question as well. I also going to open the chat. And I have that open over here on my screen as well now. So if you're having trouble with your microphone, you can put your comments in the chat and we'll be monitoring that as we're going through. Todd's going to monitor that for us. Todd is also with our support team. Todd, you want to just unmute and say hi?
Everyone.
Okay, so he'll be helping me keep track of anything you do put in the chat. But if your mic is working okay, just go ahead and ask out loud. That way everyone else can hear your question and I'll hear it on a timely basis, but we have the chat available if you need it. Okay, I think that takes care of the preliminaries. Let's go ahead and get started. So this is Introduction to Smart Homes. I want to thank you all for attending. I hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for this session. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, not much, but a little bit. I'm from a small town called Mason, Tennessee. It's West Tennessee, just outside of Memphis. I have a degree in experimental psychology and have taught in a number of colleges, but I spent most of my working career installing and training users how to use hospital information systems, training the nurses and the doctors. So I've done a lot of training adults in my career, but why I really enjoy teaching at Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people that are in the class because they want to be in the class and they want to learn with other people that are interested in the same topic. And that's really what we try to do with Get Set Up, is to create an environment where you're learning things you want to learn with other people that share common interest. And you can interact directly, not only with the guide during the class, but with each other. That's how we think it's the most fun to learn. The session is being recorded, and you can request a copy of that recording. To do that, just send an email to help@getsetup.io. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. In case you don't have that already in your email contacts, there's a number of different reasons and ways where you might want to use that. We'll talk about those during the closing after the class is over. We're also live streaming this class, so I do want to welcome anyone that's joining us via the live stream. Welcome. I hope you enjoyed the class as well. But I do want to encourage you to go ahead and register for the classes because in that way you can actually ask questions of the guide and interact with the other learners in the class and get the full Get Set Up experience. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products that we train on. We are purely trainers. Let's talk about the agenda and the objectives for today. By the end of the class, you should know what a smart home is, why people might want to have a smart home. We'll talk about the steps involved in creating a smart home and spend quite a bit of time going over all the different smart home devices that you could include in a smart home. Okay, so what is a smart home? So a smart home is a residence equipped with smart devices, and you'll know what those are in a little bit. A smart device can be controlled by a smartphone app, by voice commands, or actually even by triggers such as timers, motion detectors, other smart home devices. So smart devices are able to interact in those ways. That's what kind of defines that category. And we'll talk about a lot of different smart devices toward the end of the class. This is sort of a diagram of what a smart home might look like. So we mentioned that the smart devices are the different devices. They're things like lights and cameras and plugs that are controlled by either a phone app or by your voice via a voice-controlled assistant. And we'll talk about what those are. Typically, they're called smart speakers. They're also smart tablets now. But they all interact with each other and are the basic components of a smart home. And I'm going over some of this background material fairly quickly, but if you have questions or comments, please do unmute and ask me to repeat that if you missed something, or if you have a question, please do go ahead and ask those as we're going along. So let's talk about the steps involved in setting up a smart home. We've kind of identified the key components, and we're going to dig much deeper into all of these components. But again, there's three main components here: the smart devices, the controller, the hub, and the app on your phone. So the first thing you would typically do is what's called a smart home ecosystem supplier. And there's several different ecosystems out there. The three most prominent ones, and the ones we're going to focus on today, are Amazon, Google, and Apple. There are some others out there. Don't want to say these are all of them, but these are the ones that most people are using, and especially people that are kind of novices to this area. These are, I think, the easiest ones to use. So for example, with Amazon, the voice assistant is Alexa. A lot of you may already have Alexa, or at least know what Alexa is. A voice assistant is a device you can talk to, and it will respond to your voice commands. The Smart Hub is the actual physical device that you're talking to. So in our diagram here, this is an Echo. This is part of the Amazon system. So Alexa essentially resides in this device. You talk to this device, to Alexa, and she responds back. So that's the hub. And then the app on your phone, and you can see this over here, Amazon Alexa. So that is the app that runs it. So that's basically the components of your ecosystem. The voice assistant, which is really artificial intelligence, the physical device that you talk to, and then the app on the phone that you use to program the system as well as to control the system. You can control it either by talking to the Smart Hub or by using your phone. So that same configuration works with Google. The voice assistant for Google is called Google Assistant. The Smart Hub is either called Google Home or Google Nest. Originally, they called it Google Home. Google purchased Nest. Some of you may be familiar with the Nest thermostats. So now they're rebranding their hubs as Nest. So you may see either one of those. And then Google Assistant is the app on your phone. For Apple, Siri is the voice assistant. Again, if you've got a smart iPhone, you've probably talked to Siri and know what Siri is. The HomePod is the actual smart hub. That's the smart speaker that you would be talking to. And the app on your phone is called Home. Questions about the basic ecosystem, what that is? And we're going to drill down. If we're going through, we're going to get more specific.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Got a question.
Sure.
I'm familiar with voice assistants. I'm familiar with apps, but what is, I see what the names of the smart hubs are, but physically, what does that look like and how does one get it?
Okay, good question. And I'm going to actually go into that over here. But back into the picture even, this is an example of an Amazon hub. It's called the Echo. In this case, that's an Echo device. I'll do a little show and tell here. This is one. So this is a Echo device. So that's what one of the hubs may look like. There's lots of different variations of that. And this is a smart speaker. So, and a smart speaker has both a microphone and speakers, so it can hear and speak. So that really is the next step, is to pick that hub. What type of device are you going to have as the hub? That's really the central part of the whole system. Everything kind of coordinates through the hub. And I just was talking about smart speakers. And so, and these are the ones we just mentioned. And you can have more than one smart speaker. So you can have more than one hub. Then if you have more than one smart speaker, and most people that have Alexa or Siri have multiple in the house. If you've got more than one, they work together. So you don't have to just use one of them. They coordinate amongst themselves. So for instance, I've got 3 Echo devices in my house. I can talk to any one of them and it'll do the same thing. What a lot of people are going to now is smart displays. This is kind of the newer version. So with the smart speaker, you can talk to it. It'll respond back to you. What the smart display does is add a visual component to it. And so let me go into each one of these providers and answer the earlier question, what these things look like. So let's go to Amazon first. And so these are the smart speakers that I was just mentioning. Now, this is the Echo. This is the 4th generation. This one is the 3rd generation. So they've changed. They call this the hockey puck. So they've gone from this hockey puck configuration to a sphere, but it does the same thing. You can talk to the Echo Dot and it will execute your commands, talk back to you and tell you what's going on. So if I wanted to, for instance, turn on the lights, I would just say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights, and she would turn on the lights. So that's the smart speaker. Now this is sort of the next phase where it's called a smart display. This is called the Echo Show. And I like this one because it really just shows what it is. It's a smart speaker with a tablet basically connected to it. So in this case, you can not only talk to it and get answers verbally, but you can see things as well. So for instance, if you have a smart camera, you could say, Alexa, show me the living room camera, and it would show you what's coming from the camera in the living room right on that device. So that's how it kind of adds in. We'll talk about things like smart doorbells. So if there's somebody at the door, you can say, Alexa, show me the doorbell, and it'll show you who's standing at the front door on this display. So adds another dimension to that hub's role in the configuration. Just kind of quickly go to show you the others. I don't want to overly bias toward one or the other. So they've got the same thing. Here's the smart speaker for Google, the Google Nest products. And here's the smart display. Here's a little smaller. It's called the Nest Audio, just for the speaker itself. Okay. And then there's other Nest products in that family. And Apple. And so this is the HomePod Mini. So this is very equivalent to the Echo on the Amazon side. Here's a larger version, better speaker, better quality. This is a hi-fi version of this one. Amazon has the same thing with their high quality one. So very similar features and products among all three of those ecosystems. Questions about that hub? So again, so that's the first step. And there may be some reasons why you pick one versus the other. There are three. There's a lot of similarities. One of the big considerations may just be if you already have one or the other. If you've already got Alexa that you're using just as a voice assistant, you might want to go with Amazon for your total ecosystem. If you're an Apple person, you've already got 2 iPads, an iPhone, and a Mac, you would probably want to go with Apple. If you have a lot of Google products already, you may go with Google. So that's most people go with something they already have one of those products available to them. But again, you can go with any of the three. Questions before I move on?
Wade?
Yeah, Josie.
Can you mix Apple and Amazon?
A good question, and no. I mean, oops. Checking. Did I have them?
Bijan jacket.
Yeah, check Bijan jacket. Okay, come back and let me know. Okay, sorry. All right, sorry. You can, like Google, for instance, makes products. They make thermostats and those smart doorbells I talked about. So some of those smart products will work with the Amazon or the Apple hub, but you can't have 2 different hubs. You can't mix an Amazon hub and a Google hub, or an Apple hub and a Amazon hub. So you have just one hub, but each one of these also makes smart appliances, smart devices. And so it is possible to have a Google device in a Amazon hub. Bye, darling. It's my wife.
Hi. Thank you.
Good question. Thanks for clarifying that, Josie.
Thanks.
All right, we'll keep going. I think as we get into the details, some of this stuff that may be a little fuzzy at this point will become more clear. So we've got now our ecosystem identified. We've got our hub in place. The next thing we want to do is to start acquiring smart devices. I mean, those are the real things that make this thing work. Everything else is just the mechanics to get to the smart devices. And a few comments around that. Prices vary. So you want to check multiple vendors. So if you're looking at smart lights, the prices can vary quite a bit. So you don't want to just grab one. Sometimes there's not much difference in the device itself, and some are just cheaper than others. Sometimes there are different features. So the one that's more expensive may give you features the cheaper one doesn't have. So you need to do some homework around picking your devices. But the biggest thing is you have to make sure your choice works with your ecosystem. So if you're using an Amazon ecosystem and you buy a smart light, you want to make sure that smart light works with Amazon, because all the devices don't work with all three of the ecosystems. So that's the biggest thing you need to check. And I'll show you how to do that as well in a few minutes. Luckily, the steps to install each device is pretty simple. They're all easy to install, and it varies obviously depending on the device and depending on the ecosystem, but they're all things that a typical user can do. They're fairly straightforward. They have good instructions, and since you're using a voice assistant, the voice assistant talks you through a lot of the installation process. And then the last step is really making all the devices work together. And this is kind of where I say this is kind of where the magic happens, because there's different ways to make all those different appliances start to work together. And originally, when smart devices started coming out, they really didn't work together. If you had smart lights from one vendor and a thermostat from another vendor and a smart plug from a third vendor, you would have an app from each one of those on your phone, and they kind of worked independently. The smart home concept and the ecosystem is how those things have been pulled together so they all work together. And there's a couple of key things you do to start making them work together. And one is to set up groups, so you can group your devices together so that commands can work on all the devices in that group. So for instance, I've got 3 kitchen lights in my smart home. So I can turn each one of those lights on and off individually, but I've grouped them together in a group called kitchen lights. So if I want to turn all 3 of them on, instead of having to issue 3 commands, I can just say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights, and she'll turn on all 3 of them. That's the idea of a group. And then you can also create what are called routines or scenarios, depending on which ecosystem you're using. They have different words, but it's the same thing. And that's where you can create a flow of commands. So again, instead of having to issue multiple commands, you can issue one command which triggers a flow of things to happen. And sometimes that's a voice command, or sometimes it can actually just be a device triggering. So for instance, when I open the garage door, it can trigger a routine that unlocks the house door, turns on the foyer lights and the living room lights, turns the heat up, and starts playing my favorite music. So all those things happen through one event, which is opening the garage door. So that would be a routine. All right. Questions? Moving along here fairly quickly.
Yes, question. How do this work on, is it by wave, what do you call it? I forgot the name. When they do things remotely, what technology is used?
There's a lot of technology in a smart home, and luckily most of that is transparent. I mean, there's obviously has to be a network that connects all the devices together. And so they use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and a couple of other networking protocols that luckily, for the most part, you don't have to understand.
Well, I was wondering, wavelengths or something like that. For instance, like the garage door, I have an automatic garage door opener, but I think every now and then, I heard that some people had the garage door open and they didn't do that. And it's because somebody opened theirs and they're on the same kind of wavelength or whatever. So it opened this friend's garage door too.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, that has nothing to do with a smart home system. That's actually the code that you enter into your garage door opener, and program your garage door opener to your garage door. And there's only a certain number of codes, so it's possible somebody else has the same codes there. It's same concept, but it's really that's really not part of a smart home. Let's go, and I think some of this will become a little clearer probably as I get in and start to demo some of this and to walk you through a little bit more about how all these things work together. So I'll move on, but if I'm not answering the questions, if you still have the questions, let's ask them again. I think there was a question, does the garage door have to be attached to your house? Not necessarily. Again, it's all connected with your network. So if your Wi-Fi can get from the garage door into the house, then you could make it all work together. So not necessarily they have, but you do have to have some network connections among them. So let me show you some of these things I've talked about with Alexa as an example, since that's what I'm using for my smart home. And my smart home is pretty simple so far. I'm just getting into this as well, but hopefully I can make some of this conceptual material a little more grounded. So let me just slide this over a little bit and scoot this over so you can see it a little better. So I'm going to go into Amazon Alexa, for instance, that's the ecosystem I'm using. And I'm going to go down here to where it says devices.
Excuse me, I have one quick question.
Sure.
When it comes to the voice activated, is it voice specific, or can anybody in the household make the commands?
Anyone can make the commands. Yeah. So, and if someone else is visiting, they
like if a burglar comes in, he'll say, "Open the garage door." Just being facetious. That's all.
If they know the commands, then they could. Yeah. So that's kind of the downside of it. It will work with any voice. There may be some of them. I can't speak to all of them because I haven't used Google and Apple, but there may be some that will let you, because it does learn particular voices and you can train it to know your voice. So for instance, if I say, well, here, let me do this real quickly. Alexa, who am I?
I think you're Wade. This is Karen's account.
So she knows my voice. She knows who I am. So theoretically, you could say, Alexa, only work with my voice. I haven't seen that command, but I wouldn't say it may very well be possible. Yeah. So let me go to devices. This is kind of where it all starts. This is where you start putting things in. When you start, you have to define your hub. And again, with Amazon, that's your Echo devices. So you would add the hub to to Alexa. But then the smart home is when you start adding things other than the smart speaker. So for instance, under lights, I've got 4 different lights that I've got as part of my smart home. I've got very creative names: first light, second light, third light, fourth light. But I've got them into 2 groups. So again, if I'm in the kitchen and I just want one of these lights on, I can say, Alexa, turn on the first light, and that light will come on. I can tell her to dim the light, turn the light off. But if I want all the lights to come on, I would say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights. And by calling in that group, she automatically turns on everything in that group. Same thing in the master bedroom. I've only got one thing in there so far. But I can say either turn on the master bedroom lights, or I can just say turn on the 4th light. So that's controlling it via your voice. And you can also control it from your phone. So I mentioned that you control it via the apps on your phone or with your voice. So let's say I just drove up into the driveway and it's dark and all the lights are off in the house. And before I come in the house, I want lights to come on. I could, open Alexa on my phone and just touch this on. All right, come on, you can do it. There it is. And it just turned on all the lights in the kitchen, except for one. And the reason that one didn't come on is because I brought it in for show and tell. This is what those lights look like. Very much like a regular light. So this is a smart light, but it has a Bluetooth transmitter in it. It's what makes it different than a regular light, but that's why the first light isn't responding, is because it's in here unplugged. So those are groups. Again, that's me. Alexa, turn off the kitchen lights.
Okay.
And so if I go back into devices, they're off. So I can do it by telling her to do it. I can do it through the phone. Now let's talk about routines. That was the other part. So you got groups where you can group things, and you can actually add, unlike appliances. So I could create a group and just call it kitchen and have those three lights and then a plug that's connected to my coffee pot. So I could just say, Alexa, turn on kitchen, and it would turn on the lights and the coffee pot. So it starts to cook my coffee while I'm still in the bedroom. So when I go in the kitchen, it's already cooked the coffee. So it doesn't have to be like devices to be in a group.
Wade, question.
Uh-huh.
You talked, the example you just gave, would you have to have a separate thing you're talking to in each room?
You have to be, yes, you would have to have either a smart speaker or a smart display within voice range, or your phone. As you can tell, I'm talking to my phone. So
Okay.
you can do it with your phone or from one of the hubs. You know, the phone acts sort of like a hub. It's not exactly a hub, but it's, you know, another way to control through voice or through commands.
Okay, thank you.
Good. And I'm just looking, we'll talk about light bulbs a little bit later in terms of how those work. Let me show you a routine, and then we'll kind of get into the appliances. So I'm gonna, let me go back. So I've got lights, I've got plugs, and I've got two different plugs here. And I've got one camera. So as you start to add devices, you know, they'll show up here. If I buy a new device, I just click here to install that device. So I'll click here, and this is where I can add a new device, or I can create a new group here if I want to create a new group. But if I want to add a new device, I tell it, you know, what type of device is it? It's a light. And then she'll say what type of a light, who's the manufacturer. And the ones I typically use are Philips Hue. So there's the Philips Hue. So I'd say it's a Philips Hue light. And so it basically asks you questions, and you go through the setup. Is it Bluetooth enabled? Yes or no? And then depending on the answers, it'll take you to the next question. So that's where it really walks you through the setup. It's really pretty simple. So let's go to show you what a routine might look like. And that's here under More for the Amazon. And again, for Google and Apple, it works extremely it's a very similar process. The names are a little different. It's not identical, but it's very similar. Here's routines. And these are all the different routines that I've set up so far. I'll pick one here. Dim the kitchen lights is a routine. And so basically, you know, and this is one that's already here. I'll show you how you can edit it. But you first define, you know, what are you going to say to execute that routine? So, you know, you type this in, dim kitchen lights. You know, you can have it say anything you want to. Light up the kitchen. If you want to have that be the name, you can just, but this is what Alexa is listening for. And when she hears you say this, she's going to execute this routine. So when you say dim kitchen lights, here's what Alexa will do these things. So right now, she turns off the office heater. She turns on those three lights. and she turns them on at 30% brightness. Okay. If I want to add something else to that routine, I can click plus and add additional things. I can have her say something as part of that. I can have her turn on other devices. So if you go to smart home, these are the devices. So I could have her turn off the fourth light, which is the light in the bedroom. So I wanted to turn off the lights there. And so we'd say next, which is, it says, what do you want to do with that light? Power it on or change the brightness level. So it kind of talks you through that process. I'm not going to do that one because I don't want to change my routine. Let's pick another routine. I've got a good night routine. So when I say good night, it's usually when I'm leaving the kitchen. So basically Alexa listens for the word Alexa, good night. When I say that, she turns off the kitchen, the office heater. She turns off the bedroom light. She turns off the kitchen lights. She says good night, and then she turns on sleep sounds so I can fall asleep. Questions? Everybody kind of get the idea. Again, the actual commands are different depending on your hub, but it's the same idea. You can issue a command and a flow of things will happen. And to add to the flow, you just click plus and add. If I wanted something else to happen, you can keep adding things into that flow. Okay, no question. Let's get into the real meat of the thing, which is the smart home devices. And so there's lots of different devices. Smart lights are usually one of the first things a lot of people start with. I've talked about my smart lights. They allow you can, as you can see here, you can turn them on, you can turn them off, you can dim them, either through making voice commands like I showed you or through your phone. Let me show you a couple of examples. This is the Philips Hue. This is the ones that I was using. I'm going to open this up a little bigger so you can see it. So this, and I'm using Best Buy because I like Best Buy does a good job of telling you what works and what doesn't. So these are a 4-pack of Philips Hue lights. That's these, the ones that I'm showing you here. So 4 for $50 isn't much more expensive than just regular LED lights. They are LED lights. What you need to do, as I mentioned, is to make sure they work with your ecosystem. So you come down here to compatibility, and you can see it works with Amazon and it works with Google. It doesn't work with Apple. So this particular light would work with either one of these. It won't work with Apple. And that's because, these lights run with Bluetooth, and Alexa and Google have configured their hubs to work with Bluetooth so it can talk directly to the bulb. Now, if I happen to have a Apple ecosystem, what I can do is to buy the Philips Hue starter kit. And what that is it has the 4 bulbs, but it also has this little mini hub. So in this case, the hub talks to each one of the light bulbs, and then the hub turns around and talks to Apple, the Apple system. So it requires one other device, since at this point, Apple can't talk directly to the bulbs. At some point in the future, Apple may make changes where it will work. But lots of times, if you buy the hub, it will work with more devices. So if I come down here and check compatibility, now it tells me it works with Apple, Google, and Amazon. And there's lots of different smart bulbs. You can get all sorts of different colors. Some of them dim, some of them don't. So you can pick the ones that you want. You can tell that the hub is but it's about $50 really for the hub. So you get the 4 lights plus the hub for $100 versus just the 4 lights for $50. Now, if you have the hub and you've got 4 lights already, then you could buy 4 more just of the lights. You don't need another hub. So that one hub can control all your lights. Okay. Questions? I know there were several questions coming into the chat, but if I'm not answering these questions, go ahead and ask me as we're going along. There's a good question there about Wi-Fi, and that is a issue with all of these. You have to have an internet connection for your smart home to work. So if your Wi-Fi is down, your system is down. That's why all these typically have a manual override. So in this case, I could turn the lights on with the wall switch instead of using the smart home control. So again, if the lights are off, I just use the switch.
Wade,
Uh-huh.
just to clarify, so are you saying that every device has to be within Bluetooth range of a hub?
There's different networks and different. So for these particular ones, yes, since these work with Bluetooth, that means that light has to be within Bluetooth range of the hub. Yeah. Some of them use Wi-Fi, some of them use one of the other networks.
Okay, so if it's one that works off of Wi-Fi, it just has to be within Wi-Fi range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the hub uses Wi-Fi to get back to in Amazon's case to get back to the Amazon data center where all the information is stored. So you've got to have Wi-Fi for all of these to work. But between the hub and the devices, it's either Bluetooth or one of the other networks or sometimes Wi-Fi. So
okay, thank you.
And there's an email coming out after class. And for those of you that are a little more technical and want to get into the Wi-Fi setup and the networks, I've got a link in there to how the actual networks operate. But it gets a little technical, more than I want to get into in this class. But yeah, there is going to be a link with more information about that network.
So I have a question. Are you saying that we could take one of the, I have an Alexa, and I could just put one of these light bulbs in any fixture within range and it would control it if I set it up?
Yep. That's all I did. I just unscrewed the other light bulbs and screwed this one in and went through that setup process. You go to add device, tell it I've got a Philips Hue bulb, and it connects it to Alexa, and then you can start controlling it.
Right, because the one that I set up originally, which is a few years ago, required changing the switch itself to a smart switch.
Okay, that's a good segue, because that's the next thing we're going to talk about is you can have a smart light switch. So instead of changing the bulbs, if I wanted to leave my bulbs like they are, you could set up a smart light switch. So that's now the switch on your wall that you're replacing. You can do it either way. Sometimes this is more economical if you've got a lot of lights that are controlled by one switch. Say this switch controls 6 lights. Instead of buying 6 smart lights, I could buy 1 smart light switch and leave my older, cheaper bulbs in there. Let me click into this one, kind of show you so that's $14. So it would be much cheaper to have 1 smart switch instead of 3 smart lights. So lots of options here in terms of how you can configure things. Now, one thing about the smart switches is that, they require wiring into your home electricity. So you either need to be comfortable working with electricity or pay an electrician to come and install that for you. But again, $14. And again, I just want to kind of beat this to death a little bit. Before you buy it, check compatibility. This one works with Amazon and Google, not with Apple. And you're going to see this probably, I think there's more smart devices that work with Amazon than anything else. Google is a close second. There's not quite as many that work with the Apple system. But for any device you want, if you want a smart switch, there are plenty of smart switches that work with Apple. You just have to do your shopping and find them. And you can probably start with the Apple website and ask for smart switches that work with the Apple and get a list that way. But just don't assume that anything just because it says smart doesn't mean it's going to work with all the ecosystems. So you got bulbs, you got light switches. You can also use power strips, which is another way to do it. So instead of putting a smart bulb in there, if it's a table lamp, I could put a smart light bulb in there, or I could get a smart switch. And in terms of show and tell, there's my smart switch. You know, it looks pretty much like another electrical plug. It plugs into the outlet. And it has a switch on the side. It's hard to see mine. You can see the one in the picture here. So if the Wi-Fi is down, I can control it just by pushing this button to turn it on and off. So they almost all have a manual override in case your Wi-Fi is down. Some of them have timers set up as part of the device itself, and things like away mode where it randomly turns the lights on and off. Some of them don't. So again, I was talking about, you know, some of these are very cheap. Some of them are more expensive, but the more expensive one may have away mode or timers built in. The cheapest one, you know, just is controlled by the home automation system. I'll click into a couple of these quickly. So here's the Wemo. Wemo is a very popular brand. Smart plug, $20. And now sometimes Best Buy has a compatibility section. Sometimes you just have to go into specifications. But here, and typically you're looking for works with, and it works with Amazon, Apple, and Google. So this one works with all three. It's $19. Let's see. You can also get a power strip. We'll take a look at that one. So in this case, I can get 3 different plugs plus 3 different USB plugs. So really I can control 6 different devices with this one. And it's only $20. So if you've got several things that you want to control and the wiring is such that you can plug them all into here, maybe a radio and a table lamp and something else, this is a cheaper way to go with it. And you can control each one of these differently. So you can you could tell Alexa to turn on. You name this one plug 1. You could say turn on plug 1. You don't have to have it turn on everything. It's not all or nothing, depending on the power strip. That's one of the things you need to check when you're comparing it. Can you turn individual ones on or off, or is it all or nothing? So again, ask questions. There's a question about have I saved money? And you know, I haven't done the analysis. Typically you can save. One of the reasons people go into smart homes is to save money in terms of not necessarily cheaper devices, but if your smart home system is turning lights and heaters and things off more often, so you're not using up electricity, that kind of has to factor in. Also, there's some security issues as to why you might want to have a smart home. I think a lot of people do a smart home just because they like to play with the technology, to be honest. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye on the time here. We're starting to run a little bit close to the end of the time. I do want to show you a few more of these. So I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit just to show you. So the next thing is, okay, we talked about those smart cameras. You know, these are pretty straightforward. You're probably familiar with smart cameras. You can put them into your smart home. So again, you can check the cameras. These work really well with the smart displays. So again, if you hear something in the living room after you've gone to bed and you've got your smart display there by the bed, you can say, Alexa, show me the living room camera, and you can actually see the display there. If you don't have a show, you can use your phone and to go to see what's that camera is displaying. So if you don't have a display, you can use your phone as your display. And most of these will record either just when you ask it to turn on, or you can have it running 24/7. Most of these you leave them turning on 24/7. You can have them recording continuously, or you can have them activated by motion or sound. Motion detection has been around for a long time. A lot of them now have sound. So that's in case somebody breaks a window to get into your house. the sound of that breaking window will turn the camera on, so it'll start recording. So several versions there. Lots of different price ranges here in terms of the cameras. That's one you really need to do your research on, but some of them are fairly inexpensive. The Blink is $64 for 2 cameras. Whereas the Kesa is a little more, is $29. So you can get them fairly inexpensively. There are some more expensive ones out there. Smart doorbells, these is something that are getting more and more popular because it lets you see who's at the door. So it will display onto your display if you have a display hub, or you can use your phone if not. But it will, a lot of the better models have face recognition. So it will recognize your face if you come up. And in fact, you can have it programmed into a smart door lock. So when the smart doorbell recognizes your face, it can send a message to the smart lock to unlock the door. You can also have different people's faces programmed in. So if you have a cleaning service, you could have those people's faces identified. So when that person walks up the door, it'll say Bob's at the door or Mary's at the door. It'll announce through your smart speakers. And so you could say, okay, unlock the door if you've got a smart lock, and it would unlock the door. So smart doorbells and smart locks work together very nicely. Here's the smart door lock that kind of goes with that I was talking about. These are great. This is the next thing I'm probably going to buy because you can obviously lock and unlock the door with your voice or with your phone. So if you've driven away from home and you can't remember if you locked the front door or not, you can open your phone, have it display your door and see if it's locked. And if it's not, just like I turn the lights on and off with my phone, you can lock the door with your phone without having to drive back home to see if you locked the door or not. But they would typically detect if the door has been open for longer than a set amount of time. You can have it set off an alarm, let your to your phone or through Alexa to tell you the front door is open. These typically just fit onto the door itself. I'm going to click into here and show you a little bigger picture of that. So you don't have to replace your lock. It just fits over the outside of your existing lock, and it's got a little motor in there that turns physically turns the lock to open and lock the door. The key still works from the outside. So if your Wi-Fi is down or your power is out, you can still use your key to get into your house. And these are more expensive. This is the August, which is one of the more popular models of this, and it's $250. I didn't go into the doorbell, but doorbells are about the same. They're about $250. So to get a smart doorbell, smart lock combination, it's going to be in the $500 range. So those aren't inexpensive, but they're really nice. And this is the last one I was going to mention, and we're just about out of time, but we got through the list. This is the door openers. There's more and more of those out there now, and those are nice because a lot of those, if you have Bluetooth in your car, it will actually recognize your car's Bluetooth. So you can drive up to the garage door, your smart garage door opener recognizes, connects to the Bluetooth in your car and opens your door automatically. You don't have to say anything, do anything. It opens. Similarly, if you're leaving, it can, as you get out of range, it automatically closes your door. And for those of us that can't ever remember if we closed our garage door or not, you can always stop along the road, take out your phone, check and see if the garage door is open. If it is, close it with your phone, keep going. I've driven back by my house 100 times looking to see if I closed the garage door or not. You don't have to do that anymore with the smart garage door opener. These are fairly inexpensive. The Chamberlain is only $30. All right, so we did get through everything. We ran a little long, and there's only 3 minutes left, so I do need to move on to the closing. Sorry, we didn't have time for any other questions, but I do hope this is the end of the official class, and I do want to thank you for attending, and hopefully you learned a number of things about smart homes. Feel a little more comfortable getting started. It's very easy to start with just a couple of lights or a plug. And as you get comfortable with it, keep expanding it into other devices. There is a related class, which is the Amazon Alexa class, where we talk about Alexa just as a voice assistant, but we cover some of the similar information. And there is an Amazon Alexa intermediate class in the works, and we talk about routines more in that class as well. So let me go to the closing slide here, because there's a couple of things I need to wrap up, and especially for anyone that hasn't been in the other classes, so you know what happens after class. So there will be an email coming out after class, and it has some class notes, and it has links to some of the articles I've mentioned. There'll be a link to an article that talks about all the different devices that we've talked about today, plus more. So if you want to go back and read more about smart doorbells and smart locks, those links will give you lots of information about those devices. There'll be links to 3 other classes. You can just click on those links and it'll take you straight to the registration page. There's a give feedback link, which brings up our feedback page. Very quick, just 2 questions: rate the class 1 to 5 stars and rate the guide 1 to 5 stars, and done. There's a place to put comments. We certainly hope you'll add comments, but they're not required. And we do hope you're enjoying your classes with Get Set Up, and that you'll become an active part of the Get Set Up community. That's really one of the things we're trying to do, is to create an active community of users. And one of the ways you can help us grow the Get Set Up community is to spread the word. Let your friends know about Get Set Up. If you belong to organizations, let them know. That will help us keep expanding what we're doing, as well as helping out those people in organizations. If you're interested in taking an active role and leading an interest group or a social group, we're always looking for learners to help in those roles. So if you're an Alexa fan and you would like to create a Alexa interest group, where people that all have Alexas can get together and share commands and ways that you're using it, and learn from each other, that might be something you want to do. If you do, let us know at help@getsetup.io that you'd like to either participate in an interest group or maybe even lead that interest group. You can suggest classes. If there's another class you'd like to see us offer that we're not currently offering, help@getsetup is how you can let us know about that class. And I mentioned earlier, the session is being recorded. If you want to get a copy of that recording, help@getsetup.io. The last thing in the email is a link to view schedule, which takes you to our website. Changed fairly dramatically recently. Hopefully you're getting comfortable moving around. I do want to show you a couple of things very quickly here. There is a shortcut on the home screen to your schedule. This will take you to the classes you're signed up for. You can go here to launch any of the classes you're signed up for. You don't have to keep the email. You can launch from here, which is very helpful. The easiest way to find a class, I think, if you know a class you want to take, is just to use the search up here. So if you're looking at the Alexa class and you spell it correctly, here's that Alexa class, Amazon Alexa, what it is. So you could click that and it'll take you to the registration for that class. A couple of things we've added in this version of the website we didn't have before. If you know some other people that you think would enjoy that Alexa class, and maybe you want to take the class together so you can talk about it after class, you can tell friends about the class by clicking here and let them know, hey, I'm taking this Alexa class. Why don't you sign up for the same class? We'll take it together. You can send a link by Facebook, WhatsApp, or even just send them an email and let them know that you're taking this class. They can click on that link and it'll take them right to this page so they can sign up for the class as well. And one last thing that people have asked for that is here now is if you go to About the Guide, there's now a Other Classes I Teach link. So if you're, this is a class I teach, but if you're interested in other classes I teach, it will show you other classes that guide is teaching. There's the Alexa class right there for over the next couple of weeks, and you can sign up for any of those classes. Okay, so I've run over by 2 minutes. I apologize for that, but I do hope you enjoyed the class and hope I see you again in another class really soon. Thanks, everybody. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
Wade.
Saturday afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Wade. Have a nice day.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Bye now.